I'm Van.
I'm sorry.
That's Booby.
And Jumpy and Ghosty.
It's still the 22nd in California. So, without further ado, we shall sing. Happy birthday to you. Dum, da, da, dum.
Happy birthday to you.
Dum, da, da, dum.
Happy
birthday, dear pony. Happy birthday to you.
I hope you enjoyed your birthday.
It's Pony's birthday. Pony's a friend of ours, and who we love very dearly. And we were happy she was born today and that she's still alive.
Yes. Very happy.
You better stick around, dumb butt. So, much love to Pony. Definitely, see her at the Bible Boogies, see her around, get a text here.
She's always poking up everywhere.
Night wish. She'll be texting me, hey, Finn, night wish. Finn, night wish.
Finn,
Finn,
the
night wish.
DVD.
The DVD. Much love to Pony. One of the best human beings on the planet that also gave birth to the
Gio's
person.
A close second.
Right.
Is that where you were going?
I was just going to talk about Vinamad.
Yep. Vinamad.
Because...
you were melting down about something.
Yeah, let's underachieve.
Oh, that's right. Let's underachieve. She was
Yeah.
like, Vinamad.
Yeah, she drew me a little picture.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Somebody messaged us and said, hey, I think it was Twitter actually. They said, they're releasing this at 12 EST. Of course, we missed the time by probably about 13 hours, but we're here. So you'll be hearing it a day late. My apologies for that. For time and topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sorry. And all you patrons, I think by the time you're watching this, Super Saiyan Sorry
We'll be up.
will be up on
You
Patreon.
can hear my story.
So we've got a lot of...
Don't worry, the kids were not around.
Got a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of personal stuff.
Popping up in there.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking about like...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, some very, very up close and personal in our business behind the scenes stuff that...
That's an interesting idea, yeah.
I might necessarily not want to share with 136,000 people,
right.
but, our friends on Patreon, then it would be good to share that. And I think it'll be a little bit cathartic for us,
I think so too.
Get everything off our chest. And the good thing is that, the individuals in question won't be able to find it on YouTube.
Right.
Because it's unlisted. All right. We already talked about time and topical political commentary. You can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sorry. This is Dance of the Clairvoyants, new joint
Oh, man, I did not know how to pronounce that. Go, babe.
New joint from, it's like being a psychic, basically.
Oh.
New joint from Pearl Jam. Let's do it.
All right, go. It's going to take a smidge to start off. I'm not sure why, but yes, we can definitely. Here we go. Like
Baseline coming, doing the touch.
Woo! Okay.
A little bit modern sounding for Pearl Jam right now. Not what I was expecting.
Ooh, it's like. I like this.
Confusion is to commotion. What love is to our devotion. Perceptibly big as the ocean, and equally hard to control. So save your predictions and burn your assumptions. Love is friction,
my gosh, I love that song!
God almighty, this guy. First of all, I don't think, maybe I haven't listened to like the last 5 years worth of Pearl Jam.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I've heard a band reinvent their sound.
I know. I was like,
to
that
this
was totally
extreme
unexpected.
Degree where it's ended up sounding good. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh
Bands
yeah.
sometimes will experiment and
They get
like,
a little too
they get a little too cute.
ambitious.
A little too cute.
Yep.
But man, like right from the beginning, I don't know if it's a setting on the guitar. Maybe they used a distortion setting they've never used before, or if they used some synth in the background.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Sonic, and then the drum line was crazy, and then the bass and the drums working together. Like, I always like it when bands like feature the drum bass patterns first and make them prominent because, you know, especially when I started listening to metal, I was just like, I remember like we tried to start a little band, and the people were like, "Well, who's gonna play bass?" And I was like, "Who cares?" You know, Metallica did Justice without bass. You don't need bass. You know, what do you need bass for? And then, you know, so I've now like come to really appreciate the bass line here, and the guitar, then the drumming was a little bit like off beat, like on purpose. Like it was a very like
Yes,
cool
no, I agree
pattern.
with you. Yeah,
really, really cool pattern. And man, and then Eddie doesn't sound like
no,
Eddie Vedder at all.
no.
Like, I mean, in certain portions, but you know, they really reinvented themselves here. I remember, you know, a band I'm very, you know, like interested in, and somebody was like, "Yo, they just released a record," and they were like, "Why is this band still releasing records? Like, they all sound like the same. Like, what else
Yeah.
is there to say?"
Yeah,
Not this one.
no.
This is unbelievable
really
the way
good.
that they.
It was fun from the minute it started. I felt like dancing,
Yeah.
and it had like this like lifting feeling to it. It wasn't. I don't know. It was like exciting, and it was positive, and it was.
It was
I don't-
also,
and some of it was just very practical.
also very forgot the name of the band I was just about to say, but anyway, it'll come back to me. But yeah, U2, there it is. It was definitely, I got a U2 feel out of this
I got
song.
a something feel out of it, but I couldn't place it. So maybe that's what it was.
U2 is one of those bands, like, they say a lot of positive things, and they're very uplifting, and they're kind of deep and spiritual. You know, wait till it stand back when the spirit comes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. But so it's kind of like a U2 feel to it, you know. Confusion is to commotion what love is to our devotion. So, you know, commotion happens and confusion is almost simultaneous to it. And so love and devotion. Deceptively big, as big as the ocean, and equally hard to control.
Is love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So save your predictions and burn your assumptions. Okay, so a clairvoyant person is like, again, somebody who can kind of see the future, kind of understand, who know information about you before you even tell them. So,
Wait a minute. Is that because, like, you know patterns of people? You know what I mean? Like, is it like that, or is it like some special like gift sort of thing?
right,
where
it's not. They would say a person who's claiming to be clairvoyant would say no, they're getting information.
Oh,
Almost like supernaturally.
Okay.
And they're able to tell you about you before, you know, and so then at that place, we went to that place, and then they're like, "Can I approach you?"
yes.
Like that type of thing. But
Okay.
I think it's an ironic title because if you look here, save your predictions and burn your assumptions. Which is basically saying, like,
Right.
you don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or other people are doing what they're doing. Especially when you throw love into the mix. People do and say really crazy stuff when love is on the line, so you can't predict anything. It was funny because we were at the man study, and Dorian is
The
obsessed
man
with,
study is a study that he does with our sons every week.
yeah. So Dorian is obsessed with like being a husband, and you know how he is. He's like obsessed with being like a top-notch husband. And so and he's a very attractive young fella. And there are a lot of girls who, you know, he's got his phone now and such, and a couple of girls have a crush on him and whatnot. And so I spent 2 hours trying to explain to him why he cannot practice understanding these girls and helping them and all the rest of it. And he was basically just using them as stepping stones so that he would be
more prepared when
his to understand his life and things of that nature. And I was like, no, that's a bad play. I said, that's a bad play, my guy. He goes, why? By that time I'll be a pro. And I'm like, yeah, look, bro, there's 8 billion people on the planet. 4.5 billion of them are women, and not one of them is the same. So you go out, and the minute it takes a lifetime to figure out one. So you go and like work with these other girls and then figure them out and all the rest of it. You're going to carry that into your relationship, and you're going to make all these assumptions about her that aren't true because you don't know her.
You'd probably say something like, well, Susie liked this.
Sadat.
That would be like the worst.
And he wouldn't
mean anything bad by it. Yeah.
It was basically like, why isn't this working?
Yeah. He keeps
Something is
telling
wrong with
me.
you.
He's like, Mom, you need to write a handbook. I'm like, there's no way to write a handbook. Like, we're all so about what women think and how women are. I said, just look at me and your mom and all the differences between the two of us. We're like completely different people. Like, I can't write a handbook. I used to think everybody was basically the same. It is not true.
When did you come to that conclusion?
Well, when I met people in your life and realized how they were. I thought that they were simply being misunderstood, and then they realized, no, like, they like certain things that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's very, very hard to save your prediction from your assumptions. And if you talk about love, if you pull it out on the national level, a lot of our social conflicts are about assumptions we make about each other. And it's kind of funny, like the sort of sniping that Americans do to each other. I genuinely believe, like, deep down in our hearts, we love each other, but because of a lot of it is the media who train us to think a certain way, it creates all the assumptions about the other person. So I got in a big fight with one of my famous Catholic friend, where he basically said anybody who would vote for Trump now is an inveterate racist, and I was like, bro, you cannot say that about these people, man. Like, come on, man. Some of these people, man, they had no jobs and whatever, and now the unemployment rate is up, and now they're scared to death that they're going to be in a situation before. Whether or not, you want to give all the props to Trump for the unemployment rate, you can't just assume into these people that they're all horrible, racist people. I definitely believe there are racists in America. You know that, but I don't believe the vast majority of Americans are KKK hood wearing, and I don't believe the vast majority of Trump supporters are in the KKK either.
Yeah.
So it's all these like predictions, and you think about like politically, like forget it. Like, well, what did we all predict last 2016? We predicted that he'd lose and we'd have our first woman president. And you got to burn your assumptions in our current.
I didn't assume that.
Yeah, I don't remember you ever saying anything different.
I didn't think Hillary was going to get in.
Well, the only thing that made me question it was the fact that I had never run into a single human being who was excited about her.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, and this is a blue state. So anyway, this has a lot of applications to everything. Like. Predictions and assumptions will kill you.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Love is friction ripe for comfort. Endless equations and tugging persuasions, doors open to interpretation.
Yeah.
That is very, very wise. Like,
yep.
I didn't have to spend all those 2 hours in the man study. I could have just had him read verse 1. Because it's true. Like, if you put away assumptions, then you're going to end up with endless equations because people are so complex. And I think some of the reason that...
If you don't put away your assumptions, you mean?
No, I think if you put away your assumptions, then you end up with endless equations. Because an assumption about a person is a very simplistic way of looking at them.
Yeah.
You can say, this is why you did it.
Oh. I was looking at it as burn your assumptions in what you assume about the person rather than, there's so many different things you could assume about them. Rather, get rid of your assumptions and just get down to the facts of what they're actually thinking or feeling.
Right, but I think I'm agreeing with you, and what I'm saying is that is what creates the endless equations, because I say this to you all the time. Nobody ever does anything for one reason. Mm-hmm. So, like, when you figured out the equation for the surface level reason, then you figure out that there's something underneath that, and then there's a line of equations there, and then something underneath that, and underneath that, until you get the root of the issue. And I think, but that is the joy of being in a relationship. That's how, I was telling them, like, this is how you keep a relationship fresh. This is a good thing that God designed, because then your relationship would be never boring, because you're constantly trying to figure this person out. And as they go through seasons and life events and things of that nature, they change as people, and so it starts all over again, and that is great. That is awesome. If your ultimate goal in being married is to know the other person.
Right.
A lot of times guys complain about how women talk and they take the circuitous route to get to their point, and a guy's more like A to B, and women are like, all over the place, generally speaking. And I think that's actually one of the best things in the world, because then it's not boring. Then it's like, oh, why is she saying this? Why is she saying that?
That's cute.
This
part was like big for me.
This was yours. I'm just gonna let you take this one away.
Expecting perfection leaves a lot to ignore. That was like huge, because that's exactly what happens. Like, when you expect things to be perfect, then there's so many things you have to ignore to make stuff go smoothly. Like, it's like, I didn't want you to do that. I didn't want you to do this. I wanted you to do that. I wanted you to be this way. I wanted you to be that way. But just like,
and that's kind of how you were raised, right? Like, the perfectionism.
Yeah. So, but it's hard to get out of that mindset, like, and it'll, like, if I expect perfection and then something comes up that's not perfect, it can like make me feel in a tailspin, because I'm like, well, yesterday was perfect for us, like, and now there's some conflict over whatever, and I don't like that, because I just want it to be perfect. And especially also when there's a perfect day, then I'm like, okay, so we can expect perfection, like, we can do this,
Yeah.
But it puts a lot of pressure on the people that you're in a relationship with. It doesn't just mean like, it doesn't have to be like this type of relationship. It can be with your kids or with your neighbor or whatever. Like, if you're expecting perfection, there's going to be so many things that are going to annoy you, and so many things that are going to upset you. It's going to make it hard to have that relationship.
It's a relationship killer. Perfectionism for sure. And, the past and the present, the future's no more. Every tomorrow is the same as before, because you've got everything down. There's nothing to learn. So now every day is just one long day.
Right. It's just one big, long bit of perfection, if you could have it that way. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. I think, it's just, there you go. And then verse 2.
Verse 2, is that like a controlling person?
Yeah, I think so.
The looser things get, the tighter you become. The looser things get tighter.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I'll go ahead and let you take that.
The more relaxed Vin gets, and like, he's over here, he's over there, the more I'm like, stop! What's happening?
Yeah.
And I hate being like that.
I think there's obvious balance there too. Like, you can't have everything be all loosey-goosey all the time. Like, there's a line where it's like, no, like, this is not perfectionism or control. This is just common sense. Like,
but my control feels like common sense.
You can't. I agree.
So it's hard for me to. How am I supposed to know? I'm like.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that point. But I'm just saying, like, in your defense, that like, and we talked about this on the trip to California, like, where it's like, let's use your sort of rigidity and my looseness together and look at it as complementary elements instead of contradictory conflict points. Which. Sometimes we're good at that. I'm good at that. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm like, you're too constricting, when you're really not. You're just exercising common sense, and then vice versa. So
you should tell me when those situations come up.
What do you mean?
I would like to know at these situations that you're like, well, actually, she's not being too much. It's just.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you next time.
It would be nice to know that.
Well, it's funny because I'm the inversion of this, which I don't think is good either. Right? Like, the tighter things get, then the more I want to be loose when sometimes it's not wise to be loose in the situation. And then again, when you're exercising common sense, but I'm like, I will not be controlled. Like, that's you assuming and reading into the situation. Then no, that's not what's happening. It's just, that. So.
Yeah, and I think there are times where I'm trying to control, and then there are times where I'm not trying to control. It's just, like you say.
Well, it's not a negative thought. I'm positive. I'm positive. I know what's happening. No, you don't. You barely know, one of my favorite passages in the Bible. Paul, people are going after him, saying this and this and this about him. And he said, look, there's nothing in my conscience that makes me feel guilty, but that doesn't mean I'm innocent. Let's wait for the Lord to judge.
Right. And I said that verse so many times.
It's a brilliant line because it says, I don't even know myself to cast a judgment on my motives. But here are these people outside of me trying to tear me down, and they don't even know their own motives. So I thought that was pretty brilliant.
Yeah. Then he said, you could have held me up rather than tearing me down.
Down in the river, yeah.
Drown in the river, yeah.
And I
think there's some people in your life that it's like that. It's like, all that strength and energy you used to tear me down, like you could have used that to build me up, but you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, for me...
Here it comes.
Well,
Here comes the excuses for the psychopathic people. Go ahead.
No, it's not excuses. I just think that...
they're doing the best they can.
Well, look,
they tried for as long.
All of us have been this person, though. That's the thing. All of us have done this.
There are degrees to everything.
Well, I agree, but when you say there are degrees to everything, we're automatically going to make ours the lesser degree and the people who did it to us the greater degree. And I'm always...
No, that's not necessarily true.
I'm always skeptical of those thought patterns.
No, I disagree with you. Because there's been areas where I've clearly dragged you down and with my control and stuff. There are areas where I could have spent that energy building you up.
Yeah, I would never say something like this. Because I feel like it's my responsibility. I can't let any human being do that. Like, I need to stand on my own and whatever. So I would never say something like this. But, I hear what you're saying. I just think that people, the older I get, the more I feel like people are so dragged down by their own insecurities.
Yep.
And I'm not even talking about you now. I'm expanding it to a specific group of people that we were a part of. There's some people that trigger the insecurities of other people, whether it's just amazing beauty or leadership, or you're a person that gets followed very easily, and it turns you into a very, very bitter person. And so then when I look at, okay, this is motivated by a certain type of insecurity, like that's it. Like, it doesn't mean that they're angry at you or that they are angry at you, but really what they're angry at is themselves being unable to overcome that insecurity. So I'm not making excuses for them. They're out of my life and they're going to stay that way forever. Inshallah. So that, I'm not making excuses for them. It's just like, now, like, I'm at the stage where I just want to understand people, not so I can excuse them, just so I can get it. And so to me, studying people, a lot of it is just, this person's this person. We could point down the line of all those people and say, this guy was extremely jealous, this girl was extremely jealous, this guy was this guy was that.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. There was something today that I saw, it was when we were at the gym, I can't remember what it was. It was something that was on the TV, and I started thinking, there's so many things that we do because we don't know who we are. Yeah. Like, if we knew who we are and we knew, like, what our value was, then there are things that we wouldn't do. Yeah. There are levels we wouldn't stoop to for certain, to get certain energy from people or to get compliments from people, or probably certain relationships we wouldn't stay in, but we need something in that relationship, even though it's unhealthy, but maybe it gives us just enough to kind of keep us going. Or, I think that there's so many things, like, I don't know, just thinking about that, like, you know, when you think of somebody who's been raised with a certain level of, like, you know, they've been kind of like put up on a pedestal all through their growing up years, they're not likely gonna, like your mother, the way she raised you, you know, Marcus Garvey and reading all these different books and stuff, like, it gave you a certain mentality. Like, when I heard about black people, mostly what I heard was, we took you guys from Africa and made you slaves, you know, and that was, you know, you made peanut butter, but that was it. Yeah. You know, but that's not the teaching you got. You got your heritage and where you came from and who the Africans were and how rich and, you know, your land was, and so it gave you a certain. So here comes somebody saying the N-word to you. I'm so angry. I'm not even gonna finish that sentence. But you are like, it doesn't faze you because you're like, you don't lower yourself. It's not like you're like, I'm not gonna lower myself. It's just, that's literally what's happening. You're not going to lower yourself to let that person's words control your actions or your feelings or anything. Like, you are who you are. And like, that word is meaningless to you. Take that somewhere else, you know? So, and that I think makes people angry because people want to be able to control you with their words and it doesn't work. And I think that's for all of us. Like, I think all of us shouldn't be controlled by other people's words about us. We need to know who we are, but the only way to know who you are is to know where you came from. And to know where you came from, I mean, we're Christians, start in the Bible.
Genesis 1, what did you give the song?
It's a 10.
10 for me too.
I enjoyed it.
Really interesting. These are also kind of like un-Eddie Vedder like lyrics too. Just all around the board. Just
10 all around.
Moving a new direction, and
it's a dance song, I think.
Yeah, man, they pulled it off, bro.
Yep.
They really, really did. Mashallah tabaraka. Good for you, Pearl Jam. That's basically what Mashallah tabaraka means. It basically means good for you. Good for you. Mazel tov. Okay.
Well, I'm a Christian and he's a Muslim. I'm just kidding. People are always like, Vid's an undercover Muslim.
Vid out.
Sorry, out.
Gone. How can you be undercover? You keep saying Arabic stuff. That's not very good cover.
Well, you're trying to hide it. And then it slips out.